Good morning. Here is Dan Chapman coming to the Wellness Lab podcast, and he's going to tell us more about his latest book, The Gout Lie. So, welcome, Dan. I'll pass it over to you to give you a quick intro about yourself on how you help others through certain remedies and food and your newest release. Thanks.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, thank you so much for having me today. Yeah, I've spent my whole life really in the world of natural food and natural medicine. That's something that started with my mom many, many years ago. My mom was sick as a young lady, and without being able to find answers from doctors, she changed her diet, started integrating herbs. This is back in the 1960s, so a really long time ago. So I grew up with a mom who was really passionate about food and nutrition and herbs, and kind of fell in love with all of that from a young age. And so I've been helping people solve their health challenges and live better, healthy lives for a lot of years. And one of the interesting topics that I've been helping people with for about 2 decades now is individuals struggling with gout. And that's what led to my book that just launched last week called The Gout Lie. And it's kind of this really side topic that it's not something that most people struggle with, but it's interesting. There's far more people that struggle with gout than what most people would probably ever guess. And it's a topic that people don't understand. There's no good information out there. The books that are written on it are mostly diet related and just getting to it quickly. Diet is not the main thing that has to be done or changed when it comes to gout. And so that's what led to the book. So I'm happy to be here with you today and talk about it.
Oh, great news. Congratulations on your book. And also, it's great to learn more about it. I've heard about gout in the past, but we can also dive into like what is it, if there's any specific signs, issues, and then we can also go more into how your book supports on probably getting some support on how to manage the probably it's like the pain. I guess that's the main
Yes.
idea from it,
Yes.
and learn more from what maybe a couple things that will work as certain exercise or supplements and whatnot.
Absolutely. Perfect.
Perfect. So, given maybe we will start from the beginning, like how does gout manifest in our body?
Yeah, so gout is a buildup of a chemical compound that's natural in the body called uric acid. And when uric acid is elevated in the bloodstream, your body has to balance that. And the way that your body balances it, if it can't eliminate efficiently, is that uric acid starts to form crystals. And those crystals can cause damage in the epithelium layer, which is the inner layer of your veins and arteries. That uric acid also gets deposited in our joints. And that's what most people are familiar with, is that big toe specifically, and oftentimes ends up being the big toe, can also be just the foot in general or the hands. But gout is kind of famous for being a bright, inflamed red big toe where uric acid crystallizes. And if you can imagine forming a crystal in the joint of a foot or a hand, it's excruciatingly painful. So that's what gout is. It comes from high uric acid. Uric acid comes from two main sources. The probably the best known source is diet, as I talked about just briefly on the introduction. When we eat foods that are high in a protein called purines, those foods would be alcohol, specifically beer, because of the yeast that's in beer. It would be red meat. It would be certain types of fish, specifically shellfish, mackerel, salmon, cod, carp, other types of fish like that are high in these proteins called purines, and purines convert to uric acid in the body. The other way that we get elevated uric acid is through just your body's normal life cycle of dealing with dead and dying cells. So most of us don't think about a cell having a life cycle in the body. Certainly we have a life cycle. We are born, and at some point we are all going to die. But in our bodies, every cell has its own life cycle. So every day cells are being created and older cells are dying off. And when those cells die off, our body recycles the components, the materials in that cell to reuse as many of them as possible. And in that recycling process, uric acid is created. And so that's actually the main way that uric acid builds up in the body. About 90% of it is just your body's normal process of breaking down cellular debris, dead and dying cells, recycling the components. And again, if your body can't deal with it efficiently, that uric acid builds up, and that's when it starts to crystallize. And so the main thing that we want to do is a little bit of focus on the diet, but the number one thing that we want to do to help individuals that have high uric acid levels or struggle with gout is to help their body deal with those levels efficiently so we can get rid of or eliminate the excess.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks for providing an in-depth in knowledge and explanation on what it is and how it triggers the foods that have to do with it. And probably another key thing to mention from a maybe treatment perspective or from nutritional point of view, there's a specific diet that might help. That will be one of the key things. And you might be able to elaborate of which foods
Yeah.
to focus or which ones to avoid.
Yeah, when it comes to diet, and that obviously is one thing that's easier for us to address is diet. I do want to just remind us though that diet only accounts for about 10% of uric acid. So I've met lots of people that have made all of these dramatic changes to their diet, and they still struggle with high uric acid levels. But when it comes to diet, the number one thing to reduce is actually sugar. And when you look at, and part of the reason I call this book The Gout Lie is the information that's out there is not as accurate as it ought to be. Nobody talks about reducing sugar for an individual that has gout. The focus tends to be on red meat, on alcohol, on fish, like I talked about. But the number one thing to do is to reduce sugar. When you consume fructose, which is a form of sugar, within 30 to 60 minutes, your uric acid levels will increase. And most people don't recognize that even common table sugar is actually made up of 50% fructose. So the number one thing to do that I tell everybody to do is reduce the amount of sugar that you're consuming. Maybe start with sugary drinks. Those are maybe some of the main ways that people are consuming too much sugar over the course of a day. So if you can eliminate sugary drinks, and then reduce or eliminate alcohol, specifically beer, even if it's for a season to get uric acid levels under control. I don't think that reducing meat is a significant contributor, even though that does tend to be one of the big focuses that I hear people talk about. But the way that I see the way your body uses and needs red meat for a healthy diet and for a healthy body, certainly don't consume red meat in excess. But I don't think that eliminating red meat is necessary, even for people that are struggling, with a gout flare-up at the moment.
Thank you. And that's great to know. I know there's lots of things with sugar and the impact to our health, but for me, it's interesting to know like this can be key as well for gout. I was more into the understanding or the assumption that it had to do with meat, with the
Yeah.
proteins rather than like sugar. So
Yeah.
thank you, and interesting for everyone hearing us to learn about. And the other thing that might be hand in hand, one is diet. The other one, are there any specific herbs or supplements that will be helpful for this issue?
Yeah, so the number one thing that we want to do in the body is we want to nourish our kidneys back to health. And I say nourish them back to health because if you have high uric acid or struggle with gout, you have a kidney problem. You have kidney weakness. And so if we nourish the kidneys, they will do the job that they're created to do, which is regulating uric acid levels. So about 70% of excess uric acid will be eliminated through your kidneys. So we use herbs specifically to help strengthen kidney function. As a side note, I don't want to use a diuretic. I don't want to push or stimulate the kidneys. There's an herb called celery seed extract that is commonly used for people that have gout. And it will work in the short run, but it will actually make uric acid and gout worse in the long run by stimulating kidney function. So I use two specific herbs in a formula that I put together. Actually been selling a formula called Gout for 16 years now. And the herbs that I use in there for kidney function is Borhavia, which is an Ayurvedic or an Indian herb, along with astragalus. Those two herbs do a really wonderful job of nourishing and strengthening the kidneys, again, so they have the energy they need, the capacity to regulate or expel that excess uric acid. So that's the main things that I want to focus on. And then there is a secondary focus, which is the digestive system. About 30% of excess uric acid will be eliminated through the digestive system. And so in this same formula, I use another herb that's very common called ginger. That astragalus also has a positive impact on digestive system. If we can help to create balance within the digestive system, your body again will eliminate about 30% of that excess uric acid. So those are the primary areas of the body that I'm focused on. And then there is one other component that is helpful in the supplement gout. I use tart cherry. The tart cherry is probably the main ingredient that people that do have gout, almost all of them are familiar with the fact that tart cherry has a positive impact on uric acid levels, even though we may not understand like how it's doing that. But here's what tart cherry does, is it interrupts the conversion rate from those purines, whether the purines are from diet or whether those purines are from the cellular breakdown and recycle process. So it slows down the production of uric acid in the body, so we simply produce less. And what we've found in our research is that when we combine another ingredient with tart cherry called quercetin, quercetin is a bioflavonoid. It comes from the white parts of your lemons, oranges, grapefruit. That the part of the rind that's white contains bioflavonoids. We use a specific one called quercetin that when we bring that alongside tart cherry, it does a far better job of slowing down the production of uric acid than if we use just cherries alone. So that's kind of the formula we use, helping to slow down the production of uric acid, but most importantly, helping to make sure that your body can eliminate that excess. And Gout has done a really wonderful job of helping people, at those moments when they're in pain and in crisis, but also helping to prevent that next flare up so we can bring stability for a long term.
That's great to know how like putting these together creates a great, let's say, compound, and the effect is what we are expecting to help manage and avoid these flare-ups. As you mentioned, I saw within some of the description of the book, like flare-ups are something that maybe happen commonly with someone going through gout. So it's good to learn about it, to know there's something you have been working on, there's some research, and it's proven to work. So it's something really interesting to know. And regarding the availability, or for anyone interested to learn more, we're going to share the information, but if there's something else you want to point out, probably is as well something written in your book. So your book is available too. I think it was October 14th, right? When you got it. Okay.
Yeah. So, a couple of other pieces of information just to be aware of is I hear commonly from individuals that tell me, oh, my gout is genetic. And my dad had it, my grandfather had it, my uncle, whoever it may be, but the doctor told me that my gout is genetic, and that's just simply not true. And so my support for that is, I know that if you even do a search for the likelihood of gout being genetic, you're going to find search results that are going to be maybe even 73% likely that your gout is genetic. But if you follow those results and you read the actual studies that information is based on, those studies are from like the mid 1900s. Like, it's very old information. And I would argue we know very little about genetics today. We're certainly learning more all the time. But in the mid 1950s, we knew very little about genetics. There's actually a more recent study from 2012 that shows that the likelihood of gout being genetic is only 6%. And it's interesting to me, you'll have to search really hard to find that study. And for whatever reason, the old information is commonly quoted, and it is significantly exaggerated. Part of the reason I think that's important is when people hear that their issue is genetic, it almost just tells them, well, there's nothing I can do. It's just my genes. So that means that I'm just going to have to deal with gout for the rest of my life. And that's simply not true. We can help anybody that has gout on a regular basis bring uric acid levels back to balance so you don't have to live that way. And so to me, it's important to understand it's likely not genetic, but even if it is, in the unlikely chance that your gout is genetic, we can help you as well. And so that supplement is that the company is called Red Remedies, REDD Remedies. Gout has been helping people for 16 years now. And the Gout Lie will give you the information that you need to help you understand what's happening in the body, but more importantly, how can I go about getting better? For those that buy it, we do have a quick guide that they can download, because I also recognize that anybody that is buying this book is probably in pain right now at this moment. So we did a really wonderful quick guide for somebody to be able to download. It's a 1-page to get the bullets of, okay, I hurt right now, and here are steps that I can take very quickly to feel better. And then I'll read the rest of the book later on when I'm feeling better, so it doesn't happen again.
Once they're not suffering and in pain, that's amazing. Good. That's something great. Well thought. And probably to elaborate on those steps that you outlined through your book, or things that obviously help alleviate the problem, how does exercise come into play? Like, is there something specific to advise or not to do? Does it help?
Yeah, so certainly exercise is always good. Now, I also want to recognize that somebody that is in the middle of a gout flare-up is not going to feel like exercising in any way. So I fully understand that. But one of the things that somebody can do, even when they're struggling at the moment, an exercise they can do while even sitting in their chair, because we do want to help stimulate circulation. Circulation in the human body is absolutely essential and important. And when we're in pain and we're sitting for a few days, circulation is not good and healthy. And so it'll be a little bit difficult to demonstrate here, so I just won't. But we do have another download that we have is an instruction sheet on how to do 5 different 1-minute exercises to help essentially stimulate circulation for somebody struggling with gout. One of the things that we would do is you would just take your hands and make fists, and you would very lightly just kind of knock on your kidneys. So knock on your lower back in a circular motion. And so when we do that, it helps to just move circulation a little bit and gets the kidneys going. So very lightly, very gentle circular motion with the fist in the back. And that's one of the exercises that somebody can do. And then when you can stand up, then one of the things that we can do is just hop and bounce, and that moves the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system is one of the main ways that our body gets rid of toxins and eliminates excess from the body. And so that's part of the reason that daily movement is so important for us.
Thank you. That's great advice. And the other thing that I wanted to touch upon regarding the information you have at hand and what you have shared already, which is great, is what brought you like to focus specifically on gout? Was there something that maybe you ran across throughout your career with others or from someone close to you?
Great question. Many of the products that I started making at Red Remedies, so I've been formulating supplements for 20 years. And many of the first supplements that I made at Red Remedies were products for problems where there was no solution for it. And so 20 years ago, There was no formula on the market that was designed for people with gout. The only thing that was available was essentially tart cherries, and that's what people were using. And if you use tart cherries, the results are generally inconsistent, and it's slow. It takes a while before you're going to feel results if that's all you're using. And so I have a certain way that I look at the body as a very holistic perspective. So everything that we do at Red Remedies is a formula designed to solve a problem. We've got about 30 different products. And so when we were looking at how do I help somebody that has gout, we knew that we needed to nourish and support the kidneys. We needed to support the digestive system. We needed to work on the stress response, and we needed to slow down the conversion of purines to uric acid. And you're not going to accomplish all of that with one ingredient, not even with two ingredients. And so, we set about designing a formula that was going to be easy to use, that we believe was going to get the results that we were after in a very short period of time. And so 16 years later, we've proven that that is possible. The dosing on gout is very easy and simple. It's just 2 capsules twice daily for about 3 days. And then you can take 2 a day after that as a maintenance dose. Many of our customers that are in the middle of a gout flare-up are going to get results or start to feel better within a day, maybe 2. So it works very, very quickly. And the longer you use gout, because our philosophy is to nourish and support and to create balance within the body, it's a very safe product to use long-term for individuals that are used to getting regular flare-ups. We'll tell people to stay on that 2 capsule a day dose until there are no more flare-ups. And then, it's not a drug, it's not addictive or habit forming. So whenever your body is back in balance and you're feeling better, you can stop using the product.
That's great news, and amazing you have obviously that other component like the supplement that will help alleviate, because sometimes it happens that you maybe become aware about the issue at hand or how you can manage it or control it, but then what's going to happen. So obviously it's great to know. I saw on the website for Red Remedies there's like some free shipping starting from, I think, over $69. There's a health quiz as well, like maybe there's other things happening or you want to assess your overall wellness. So lots of things available or supplements to support health. So that's great. Thanks, Dan. And one more question regarding the book specifically. I know it's available through Amazon. I'm pretty sure Audible too, but feel free to let us know if there's any other um, places that it's available.
Yeah, you can go to thegoutlie.com and order a copy there. But we certainly, Amazon is easy, especially for books. So on Amazon, you can buy the print copy, you can buy the Kindle, and you can do the Audible. And so that's probably the easiest place to go. But if you want a little more information, you can go to thegoutlie.com. I provided a little more details, a little more information there. And from that website, you can buy the print copy only if you would like to do that. But anybody, no matter where they buy the Gout Lie, they can get those free downloads that I mentioned. So the quick guide, some exercises. We have a gout risk questionnaire that can be downloaded. That's also in the book. And so a number of kind of free tools, because our main goal is education, but also more than anything, helping you solve the problem that you have so you can live healthy and full lives.
Great. Thanks for the contributions and for supporting others, as you say, like achieving healthy lives, pain-free. So that's part of the overall goal as well here in our podcast. And below we'll be sharing these links. So anyone that needs the information or wants just to quickly click and go to your website and follow through or learn more, get these guides as well. They'll be available here. And I was gonna go to one more question about it. I think I skipped that, but just to make sure, the way to know or confirm you have gout would be through blood analysis?
Yeah, also good question. Yeah, the most reliable way to know if your uric acid levels are high is to do a blood test. You can either do that through your doctor. There are also some like home test kits, just like you would test blood sugar. There's a couple of home test kits where you can prick the finger, take a drop of blood, and within a few moments you can know your uric acid levels. And that's probably one of the other things we haven't touched on yet is about 1 out of 25 people will get gout over the course of a year. That's actually a lot of people for this kind of small issue, if you will. But there's another 1 out of 4 people that have high uric acid in their body, but no gout symptoms. And so one of the things I talk about in the book is it is important if you are at risk in any way of having elevated uric acid levels, which is why I have that quiz that you can go through, is if your uric acid levels are high, it can cause damage in the body, even if you are not feeling that damage. I mentioned early on that if uric acid elevates and crystallizes, it also crystallizes in your veins and arteries. And so if you have uric acid crystallizing in your veins, it damages that epithelium lining. That's the inner lining of our veins and arteries. If that happens, there's a cascade of events that will happen. One is you will have issues with blood pressure and likely other cardiovascular issues. The connection between elevated uric acid and cardiovascular health is essentially a one-to-one connection. 90% of people with high blood pressure also have high uric acid. And the reason for that is if we've damaged the epithelium lining, that means we are immediately not going to be producing a healthy amount of nitric oxide, which is going to have an impact on blood pressure. It's also going to have an impact for guys that are listening. It's going to have an impact on erectile dysfunction and sexual health. And I know that is an issue for lots of men, and it's not just an older man issue today, but it's even an issue for younger men. And so I encourage all individuals to make testing your uric acid a part of a regular health assessment, just to make sure that those levels are in alignment, because by the time you feel gout, damage has already been created. By the time you get there, there is damage in your arteries, and that's just a fact. And so we want to be proactive about managing that number and making sure that our kidneys are healthy and our digestive system is healthy, so our body can regulate uric acid in a healthy and a balanced manner.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you for clarifying it. And it's a great takeaway for everyone. We've discussed that also in other episodes, like taking this proactive approach with our health. There's like so much we can do before we fall into illness, into any difficulties with our health. It's a great advice to say, okay, we need to monitor, to take the tests that are required and whatnot, but it's really important taking the proactive approach. And before we get these symptoms and painful manifestation through our body, it's better to do what we got to do and do maybe some changes in our diet, taking certain supplements, exercising, and so on. There's like lots of things we can do. So it was a great topic that we have learned so much today with you, and there's also your book available. So we're going to be sharing all the details as well, so anyone interested can go follow you, go to your website, get the book through Amazon or whichever way works best. I'm going to pass it over to you to see if there's any wrap up, final comments or message you want to give the audience, and I appreciate your time today, Dan.
Yeah, well, I would just say for those that are listening that might be struggling with a health issue, whether it's gout or any other health issue, I just want to encourage you that you don't have to live like that. Our bodies have a remarkable capacity to heal, and I think it's important that we know that and that we believe that. I know sometimes when people are struggling with the health challenge for a long period of time, we might start to lose that hope or that belief that I can feel better. But just be encouraged today that you can absolutely get better, live a healthy life. And if there's any way that we can help you, either myself personally or through a supplement at Red Remedies, we would be happy and honored to do that.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate your time and all the information you provided and helped the audience learn more.
Thanks for having me today.
Thanks.